All right, mate. Let's go. Give them a crack. No beers today, guys. Sorry for those that are listening, not watching. We're having a light sparkling water off the beers at the moment.
On the hard stuff, eh?
All right, so today on Beers and Buying, or Sparkling and Buying, we've got Ryan Kambouris from Kamvino Property Group, mate. Pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, mate. It's good to sit down for a chat.
I know. I thought today would be really good. I feel like you've got a very unique role within the industry. Well, I don't feel like we see it pop up enough, and really want to go through kind of what your position is, within what you guys do and how you help, first-time buyers, investors, everyone from all different walks of life. But we'll start off with a little bit of fun stuff, mate. And so is the name's Greek? Isn't it?
So my last name is Greek,
Yes.
but the company name, a lot of people get it mixed up. So the company name's actually half my last name, half my wife's maiden name. So
yeah. What's your wife? What?
She's Italian background as well.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Greek and Italians.
Yep.
They gel well together, or?
Yeah, same, right?
Is what I was thinking about when I was coming over here actually was like that. Is it Boris? Is that how you say that?
Kambouris.
Kambouris?
Yep.
Is that's like a really common finish to the name? Like I always think about like Mark Boris, and like I wonder if they had some similarities around them.
So Greek, it's like OS, IS,
Right.
OU. There's similarities in terms of the kind of the endings of them.
Right.
A couple of letter phrases.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Anyway, so mate, obviously, if anyone's listening today, I was thinking about on the way over, like when we first, we've been friends for like quite a while now. Hey, back when you were at Clevo, is that where you went to school?
Yeah, I think it was between the school and the
Footy
local rugby league and knowing people, and I think I've known of you and then known of you since probably 15, 16.
Yeah, it must have been because it was Mika and
and Chanel and
Janet.
all the different friends of friends and that. So yeah, I'd say
Crazy.
Going on for 20 years.
It is, mate. It is.
Just-
Do you still have any ties back to school, or? No.
Not really. Look,
No.
I left Brisbane at 20
Yep.
and really didn't go back. So yeah, not much at all.
You guys had a I don't know if it was your year. I think your year was good as well, but the year above you guys, they had a freaky team. Hey, it was so bloody good. Paddy Frey. Was Gerald Beale there as well?
Yeah, that was in. So they were the upper age when
Yeah.
I was like lower age of open. So it was some pretty good sides through there. But
Yeah.
they were the good old days, hey?
I think about like that because I remember Paddy played for the Logan brothers, and I remember that team, and he was like the freak, right? And I think they had Ricky Latelli. They had like Gerald Beale, and I remember he was better than all of them. And then obviously, it's funny like how you can have all this talent and then certain people just go and kick on. It was the same thing at Aspley as well. But
Yeah, there's a lot of different players and a lot of people go different directions.
do you miss it playing?
The actual playing,
Yeah.
I think everyone would say yes. The injuries, the
Yeah.
training, and all of that, not really.
Is that why you stopped playing?
I think just work and
Yeah.
life, and we all have the original dream of being an NRL player, but that fades pretty quickly for a lot of us, and you move on with real life.
Real
right?
life, yeah. So true. Anyway, mate, getting a bit sidetracked here. Just for anyone that's listening, just take them through how you first got into property. Were you an agent at some point in time, or?
Yeah, so started as residential real estate, spent a little bit of time with Ray White, and then moved across to managing and selling major development projects. So think high-rise apartments for CBRE on the Gold Coast.
Yep, off the plan stuff.
Yeah, off the plan, but working directly with buyers and the developer, and then in early stages being able to design and do different floor plans, and that's how I got into that side of it.
Yep.
And then ending up on the side of representing buyers now. How I got there was my nature, I guess. I've always been a people person and wanted to help people, and I found being on the selling side of the industry, I always felt like I wanted to work, and I got closer with the buyers.
Yep.
But obviously you had higher up saying, hey, you're here to sell our product.
Yeah.
So that was kind of how I made that transition, and I had family and friends reaching out kind of saying, hey, we want to build new and we want to do this, and just saw an avenue to essentially create a business that I didn't see really existing to help give representation to buyers, really.
And so you've gotten out of that high rise, not so much necessarily off the plan, but the high rise kind of development stuff. You've gone away from that, and now you're doing more houses as opposed to
Yeah,
units.
because it was like from a young age, I knew I wanted to get into property. My mum and dad, we'd moved around a few times growing up, and they always built new homes. So I grew up around the process of buying land, designing homes, and doing that. And they did that 4 or 5 times growing up, different family homes.
Yeah.
So I knew that was my original love, and I wanted to get to doing that. It was just kind of taking different steps through the property industry.
Yeah.
Which I like because I've really worked across all parts of the property industry and have a big idea of every part of the process. So yeah, been a good stepping stone to get to where I am.
It's interesting you say that, actually, because like I think about even my journey with the finance side of it. Obviously, there's so many different layers, but whenever I originally started out, like I was working for the bank and I was a teller. And then I went into doing personal loans and credit cards. And then I went into doing home loans. Then I went into doing managing. Then I was dealing with credit. And so it's funny, like the similarities in terms of just like knowing a lot about your industry and how important that is to coming back to the client. So it's like, it's not a matter of like, and just correct me if I'm wrong here, but someone couldn't come to you and go, Ryan, I'm thinking of doing, I'm thinking about maybe buying a unit in a high rise, or maybe I'm thinking about doing, a land and build out here. Like, I guess you could speak to more to those clients because you've been through the process of those different things, right?
Yeah, 100%. So we can really break down every part of all of the different options and find what best suits them. But also on the flip side, when you're representing buyers, it's about negotiating and getting everyone, I guess, with a result. So starting out on the selling side, I have an idea when we're going into negotiations, what sellers are thinking, what they may need out of a sale or a deal. So that helps obviously then get the best outcome for my clients, the buyer, now, because I have an understanding of both sides of it.
Yeah. So yeah, you're understanding really those conversations to had and those cues to pick up certain things when you're going into negotiation stage.
Yeah, exactly right.
Awesome. So mate, that obviously gives us a really good background of where you come from, but give us a little bit of an intro into Kamvino and kind of what you guys do in the marketplace as it presently is.
Yeah, so in short, Kamvino Property, we're a buyer's representative who specialise in new residential properties or small development projects.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people, as you said, a lot of people in the industry now are getting an understanding of buyer's agents that a lot of them more traditionally specialise in existing properties, certain area they might specialise on the Gold Coast, like that.
Yeah.
But where we differ is obviously we represent and we've created a system that guides buyers, both investors and owner occupiers, throughout that whole process of getting ready to purchase, purchasing, and getting their property set up after the fact. But yeah, specializing in new residential, whether that's single dwelling, house and land opportunities, townhouses, etc., right through to we might do mini development projects where we're subdividing land, building a duplex, getting a knockdown rebuild, helping someone build a custom dream home. So there's a huge scope on the properties and types of opportunities that we do. And it all comes back to what our specific client requirements are.
And I think that there's obviously one of the things that you touched on there. Obviously, there's a broad scope of what you guys do, but one of the key ones there, and I know you've helped some of our clients as well, is the new build stuff, right? Particularly with where the construction industry's at right now. I think a lot of people are worried about overpaying or spending too much. So I think that having someone that is able to help a client through that, not just buying journey, but the construction journey if they want to build something new, and we'll delve into the grants and schemes and everything that's available for first home buyers at the moment. But having someone to hold their hand and kind of take them through that process that isn't necessarily the builder. And for anyone that's out there that has built before, and I believe have you built before, you've at least renoed before?
Yeah, correct. I've done majority of the properties that we own, both investments and owner occupiers are new, done some renos and done everything. And that's essentially where our system came from originally. I kind of sat there and went, if I had someone that had a complete system when I did my first property transaction, what would have I wanted and needed as a buyer if I didn't have property knowledge?
Yep.
And that's kind of how we've pieced that system together over the years.
Because even for me, like it is a daunting process. I don't think it really matters who you are. Maybe actually daunting for most. Maybe just it can be complicated for everyone. I know that even being in finance, my second place I had actually built a brand new home, and I just remember being like, when's this almost going to stop? Like, I was sick of having to make choices. Like, even though I kind of knew what I was in for, when I actually went through it myself, I just went, holy shit, like this is way more full on than I ever thought it would be. So I think if you go to build, having someone there to hold your hand, like there's just so much value in that.
Exactly right. So there's a couple of pieces that you just said there. One, a lot of people could see the whole process and task daunting. So it's about plugging in for us, giving them that representation and guiding them through each step and kind of just saying, hey, don't stress out about the overall picture. Let's just take it one step at a time. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
But even for people, if someone has the complete understanding, they're comfortable with the process, majority of people don't have time because they're working full-time businesses, etc., or they don't have access to the right network to get them access to the right properties.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing. We're either plugging the knowledge gap, giving representation so they don't make mistakes, or giving our clients time or access to the right properties.
Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? Probably in the last few years in particular, like I just think those service-based businesses, like buyer's agents, even mortgage brokers, you could say the same thing. You know, I'm noticing there's a lot more people channeling towards those markets because time poor, you know, don't necessarily have the know-how and wanting someone to take them through that process. So it's made it super interesting. What have you, out of those options that you've got there, obviously, so what are you largely doing? Like when you look at from an owner-occupied or an investor perspective, what's Ryan and the team's kind of, you know, main kind of focus, would you say right now?
Yeah, so typically properties, if we talk owner-occupiers, the more typical properties that we're doing with clients, first homeowners will be like your house and land opportunities, or potentially like a townhouse, depending on budget of a first homeowner. For owner-occupiers, that might be upgrading family homes, dream homes. It might be more customized style. So we go out and find a one-off block, put together a build that suits their brief and that block. Or it could be like a knockdown rebuild. We're just about to hand over a property in a Northside Brisbane where it's an old block that's been subdivided, and then we're doing like a custom home build on that. So that's the typical style of things that we do with our owner-occupier clients.
Are they doing a that one that you're doing, the knockdown rebuild and split? You say you're doing a split, sorry?
It was a subdivision. We just secured then one of those one of the blocks out of the subdivision.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then we've pieced together the build for our client. So
awesome.
That's the typical owner-occupier.
Yep.
And then for investors, the scope can obviously be a lot wider. It can be more straightforward, single dwelling, house and land type opportunities. With investors and our owner-occupiers, a big part of our system is securing it off-market under value. So then by the time we've completed the build, it's worth more than what our clients have paid for, and we've created equity in it. So that's our system and our process, and obviously works heavily for our investors. But then there's also different opportunities where we're doing land subdivision and building a duplex or a multi income type property for investors that might be wanting cash flow, right through to again multi property opportunities or properties that might be suitable to buy within self-managed super funds for investors. So the type of property and development things that we're doing with our investment clients are obviously it's a lot wider scope. But again, it all comes back to it's all customized. We create a buying plan or investment plan with our clients in conjunction with a qualified broker like yourself that we work closely with. And then we go out and find the right opportunity for our client's brief.
And really, you touched on a really good point there. So particularly for the investor side of it, and one thing I know you guys have been gaining huge results on is that manufacturing equity between time of land subdivision, building the property complete. Let's just hone in on that a little bit more. And I guess I'll probably talk to it from my side a little bit, and then I can get your thoughts on it and how you've been successful with the ones that you've had. But, for anyone listening, manufacturing equity is obviously, the key point to continue to increase your investment journey, buying more and more property. So I think what you're touching on there is, let's say someone's into a house and land for maybe 700,000. Between the time the land registers and by the time you build it, it might have come in at 900. So all of a sudden your property's increased by $200,000. So in essence, normally from a bank's perspective, for anyone listening, you could usually utilize about 80% of that. So therefore, you've got then 160,000 in equity that you can then go and pull out of that property as a loan, and then go and buy the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. So, and I know once again you guys have had some really good results on that. So did you want to speak to that a little bit around what you look for, or what results you've gotten out of that in the past?
Yeah, definitely. Because obviously a big part of investors and being able to grow their portfolio, it's about creating equity so they can leverage and buy again, right? So the quicker we can do that with the less risks, the better it's going to be for our investors to keep borrowing. Our latest settlement, it was a first-time buyer, first property with the goal of continuing to grow the portfolio. Total purchase was $732,000 to be exact. I know the figures, and that was land and completed build. So for all of our clients, it's always fixed price contracts as well. Full turnkey. So basically, internally, externally, we give the keys to property management, and away we go. There was a 10-month gap between securing that property and completing it and handing it over, which happened 2 weeks ago. Bank valuation that happened a week after handover came in at $820,000.
Wow.
So that's $90,000 created in the space of 10 months in his first ever property.
Wow.
So for a first-time investor, that's a huge result. But then on the back of that, obviously, the key to the new small development projects is that we're creating that equity. We're creating money on the entry point. But then as an investor, it's brand new. So we know there's no maintenance costs, upkeep costs for the first 5 or so years. So we can be pretty sure on what the cash flow is going to look like. We can generally secure a higher rent because people are prepared to pay a premium for brand new. High quality tenant, and we can maximize on the tax benefits with depreciation as well. So there's obviously a lot of benefits in there, but our main one, especially with our investors, is creating that equity by adding value through the small project of the build.
And so that was good touch on there with the depreciation as well, because obviously that can be a tax write-off, which then means that, you're not, everything going well and your property's gone up in that much value and you're getting really good rent for it. People might not be out of pocket at all, really. Might have a nice tax loss, and when the tax credit comes back in, they'll be in a positive position. So I guess it's super important as well to be teaming yourself up with a good accountant, right, as well, when you go through that process.
Exactly right. And obviously we work closely together, but part of our service, and I know part of Archer's service as well, is giving our clients access to every professional service they'll need through the journey, and having trust in those services where we're putting our clients with. So for us, we've got a couple of very aligned mortgage brokers, Arch being one of our close ones that we work with. We also give clients access to solicitors, accountants, financial planners. And look, we don't force anyone to use them, but a lot of our clients will go, well, hey, if you're trusting them, if you use them, we'll use them. And then the open line of communication between all those professionals make the process so easy for clients as well.
I think you really do start to see like the big benefit in having the kind of ecosystem, I guess you could call it, where everyone is communicating. And I know that we notice that a lot with, whether it's working with yourself or whether you're working with a buyer's agent or solicitors. Like, it's just so much easier and it's less work for the client to do, because sometimes once again, you're not saying that you have to go with those set people, but you just find how smoothly it runs for the client, and then they're not trying to you're not double handling. Like they don't have to try and give you information from another party, or it's just so much more seamless, right?
And with that as well, you know that there's going to be a genuine plan made. So like I say with all of our clients, for me, the actual property part, although that sounds like the hardest part, finding the right property, we've been doing it for years and we do it day in and day out.
Yep.
So that's the easier part. For me, it's all the planning, the making sure there's the right finance plan in place. If we don't get the finance plan right from property one, we're going to run into trouble as we start to grow your portfolio.
Yep.
So having a trusted broker that has that right plan from day one, and then have an accountant involved in that, and having all the professional services working on that plan from day one, we know we can just keep growing and changing that plan, but we know it's tight and it's right for the client from the start.
Yeah, you're 100% right there, because even from, I was just thinking then, like the role that an accountant plays within that investment journey, making sure the structures are set up correctly, talking through the potential, whether it's debt recycling or payment options. If you get that wrong in that first one, absolutely you can cripple yourself kind of later on as you go, right? So good points, mate. Good point.
Yeah, and it's certainly something that I say to a lot of clients, and you would see as well. I see so many people out looking for property when they've got so much planning they haven't done yet. And then they just keep missing out on opportunity because they're not ready. So with a lot of our clients, and as you know, I say to our clients, sometimes I'll meet with you 4 and 5 times and we still haven't spoken about property really yet. Because we get an understanding of you, what's the long-term goal, how do we break down a plan to get you to those goals, then let's go plan with the broker first. Then once we get a capacity and things like that from broker, then we're now ready to start talking about property. But that could be weeks in the making, whereas so many people tend to try and skip straight to the
property
the
bit.
fun stuff or the cool sounding stuff and forget all of that pre.
Yeah. No, I love that, mate. Love that. All right. What are you noticing any like particular like hot areas at the moment in terms of like where you're seeing, like might be that one that you had recently, but is there any particular like growth areas that you're, without giving away too much of the secret sauce on here?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously it all comes down to budgets and what people are trying to achieve. But I've always been a big one of following government infrastructure spending plans. Like we know if we're talking Southeast Queensland as an example, we in the industry, we talk a lot about the PDA, so priority development areas, and they can be different things. So obviously there's the growth areas, for example, from when I was in school, it was Springfield in Brisbane. That seemed so far away from Brisbane when we were growing up, but now it's Brisbane, right?
Yeah.
So Springfield was original, and then on the back of that, more recently, areas around the Ripley corridor. So that was a priority development area from 2010. A lot of people think that's popping off just overnight, but there's been a long time planning, a lot of infrastructure planning happening. Same thing on the northern corridor. You've got your mid-range, and then obviously you're further out, like your Moray Fields, Cabooltures, places like that. On the Gold Coast, obviously the priority development areas are around Coomera and everything we've seen happen there in the last few years. So they're just examples, but I always go back and go, okay, well, where is the government infrastructure happening? Where are the big corporations planning on opening new Bunnings warehouses or all of that? Follow the spending. And then also follow the lifestyles of, okay, well, if there's people migrating, is there schools, shopping centres, health, transport? Do they have a link to a CBD area, or are they close to water, Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast? And pick areas around that first of all. And then look at the numbers and the data behind it. What are the split? If you're an investor, understanding splits around how many owner-occupiers own in an area versus investors. What are the types of jobs and the income levels in certain areas, and picking it based on that. So where is their government and infrastructure spending? And then looking at the data and then looking at property type.
And so there's obviously a number of things that you just mentioned there, but I think that's why it's so important to find someone that's got that expertise, right? Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Now, what's your thoughts on? Obviously, there's been some change in governments sorry, not governments. Well, government did change, but more so like the grants that are available now. So obviously for first home buyers, if they're building brand new or getting into something brand new and they're moving into it, it's up to $30,000. They've now done a stamp duty waiver on no price cap. Anything that's brand new. I think the rules are around the vacant land. A little bit different to the scheme in the sense of like you don't necessarily have to have that build contract. I think you've got up to 2 years to kick the building off. What kind of changes have you noticed that impact has had, maybe even from the clientele that you've seen, but even in property prices themselves? Have you seen a bit of a shift there?
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. Obviously, the more and more grants that come out, and I guess one thing I'll touch on, and this is a lot of clients, which you would see as well, there's a lot of confusion between state government grants, federal government grants. There's different caps on all of them. So there are so many out there. But again, working with the professionals to break down, okay, there's caps here that work for us. There may not be. And I've always said to everyone, when you're thinking about grants, have a look at your situation and buy a property because it's the best property for you. The grants that you get on the back of that purchase, I see as the cherry on top. I've always been a big believer in don't go and buy a property just because you're going to get grants with that property. Make sure it's right for you first and then see what we get on the back of it. Because there's some people that, as you said, can utilize the stamp duty grant now, but they may go over the first home buyer grant capping. So in the end of the day, if you've got the capacity to buy something that purely suits you and you miss out on the government grant because you've gone over the cap, well, it is what it is. You've still got a saving on stamp duty and you've got the best property suited to your future goals and lifestyle, etc. So that's a big one. But going back to your question in terms of the effects of it, obviously the more and more grants that come out, and they're all to do with building new, a lot of them, obviously new construction, new properties. Obviously that continues to push pricing of a land two ways. One, because it lessens the supply and heightens the demand. More people are trying to get in. And then obviously there can be a rush with buyers trying to get in before missing grants before they end. So a lot more buyer competition, and especially in certain areas where a lot of people want to live. So obviously that continues to push pricing of land. But we've also seen in the last few years that it pushes prices of construction, right? Because more people trying to build, harder it is to get materials, harder it is for builders to get trades, and all of these things come into it, which keeps heightening the price. So it's all about, I guess for me, it's taking advantage of what's on the table to first home buyers while it's there, getting yourself in the market as soon as possible. And I think a big thing as well, where we see it's harder to get materials, harder to get trades and things.
I was going to ask you about that.
And I think that's it's not a bad thing because the good builders, they know what they're doing. They're running a tight ship. They know how to do it. But it's about having an understanding of those builders. And for me, a big thing that I look at for our clients is working with builders that have trade bases that follow them from job to job to job. So we know the quality, we know what we're getting. Builders, a lot of the wholesale builders on the side of the industry that I work with, they build similar amount of homes year on, year out. So they can kind of forward plan on materials and order based off what they're going to be doing on a volume basis, instead of some builders might just order materials job for job. And obviously you can get delays and things like that. So, government grants obviously are a good thing, but continue to push pricing and things obviously only naturally.
I think it's going to be really interesting as well. This, the first home guarantee scheme, which enables a first home buyer to get in the market with a 5% deposit plus costs. Obviously those property price caps are looking to go up again. We're at about 700K. We are at 700K right now for kind of Brisbane, surrounding suburbs, main cities. And then obviously they're talking about that going up to $1 million as of 1 Jan. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I mean, as the market as a whole, not just new stuff, but it'll be really interesting to see where that goes to. Like $1 million's going to be the new 700 or somewhere thereabouts, right? So
yeah,
timing's going to be key, I think.
Definitely. I'm a big believer in that, and as you know, for me, it's always about the hardest one is that first one, and
100%.
people always, I think. People think it's a throwaway line in the property market, but I'm a genuine believer in that. I haven't still yet to met very minimal people that can outsave the growth of the market, right? So the hardest one is saving that deposit and getting yourself in.
Once you're in,
you can obviously be increasing your own income savings on one side, but then you've got an asset growing in value as well. So just doing everything you can, making the sacrifices to be able to utilize the most amount of grants that we've ever seen, and get yourself in the market. And for me, if we're talking first home buyers, I think a lot of first home buyers have that traditional thought of, oh, I can't buy where I want to live. So I'm just going to put it to one side and not worry about it. But all the grants that are there, if it's a sacrifice to be made and it furthers what you want to do in future, buy where you can afford, live in it for the simplest term of 6 months to qualify for your grants. Then in 6 months' time, rent it out, move back and rent where your lifestyle is, but you've got that first property.
Yeah. And it's crazy. We did the numbers, I think that was a couple of months ago now, but we did the numbers for someone where we were looking at, okay, well, this is what it looks like if you're doing owner occupied. This is what you do, you know, what it's going to look like if you do that same property price as an investor and the deposit doubles. I think we were looking at about 40, I think it was more than double. I think it was about 40 grand for a 700K purchase, or it was about 88,000, you know, same loan amount, higher interest rate. Just because of the costs that add up through stamp duty and mortgage insurance. So, mate, I 100% agree with you. I would, if I was a first home buyer all over again, I reckon I would bite the bullet and do that, go and live there for 6 months. And it's not, obviously it's not for everyone, right? There's going to be people out there that are tied to certain locations through work or whatever it might be. It might be like, you know what, if I've got to go and move half an hour out, like it just doesn't make any sense.
Definitely. It all comes back onto circumstances, but if you have the ability to make sacrifices in the short term, it's, long term, it is definitely beneficial. Even first homeowners now, you've got the ability, the government allows you to rent out a room in that first 6 months. So
love that.
Not only can you only need to live in it for 6 months, you can also rent a room out and be earning an income in that period as well. So times are definitely different to when we all first purchased, but I did the same thing. The portfolio that myself and my wife are growing now, that's all on the back of our first property. We purchased it solely on what could we afford in the best location at the time, and with the purpose of it was going to become an investment property pretty quickly, and that's what we've now used to leverage and start to grow a portfolio.
And like, so for you, do you have many of those people that have foregone the go on and buy the first home, want to stay where they are, and then they've gone through the process of something like rent vesting?
Yeah, rent vesting, obviously it's a
popular term.
Pretty popular term, and a lot of people get caught up into what it has to be and think it's a certain thing, but it's all different for every different person, right? But if people are in the financial position and it makes sense for them to forego the grants and go straight to it, we have a number of clients doing that. We also have a number of clients that kind of do it after that 6 month period. So utilize the grants, get in, then rent it out straight away and go back to whether they're working away or working mobile. But for me, it just comes back to having an idea of what your short-term goals are and creating a plan around that. I think a lot of people either go into wanting to buy their first property without a plan at all, or thinking they have to know what their end goal is. And for a lot of first-time investors, first-time buyers, whatever they might be, your life goals might change 5 times over in the next 20 years, right? So for me, it's like
Be weird if they didn't.
correct. Like my goals now that I've got a almost 3-year-old is different to before he was born, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, okay, what are the end all goal is you want to grow a portfolio. Most people want to do that. Most people are investing to create financial freedom for potential future family, kids.
Yeah.
So that's a generalized goal of long term. But just in the short term, let's create a goal of around 1 to 3 years. And let's map that out. Property purchase, break it down. What are we trying to achieve out of one property purchase? We do that. We achieve those goals, and all of a sudden that opens us up to going, okay, let's get a property revalued. Let's see what equity's there. And all of a sudden we're talking about what our next steps are, and that plan's going. So for me, it's, yes, I have so many clients that are doing rent vesting, but all different styles. How they get there, do they forego grants, do they utilize them? But it just comes back into a plan that suits them.
Yeah.
And not getting caught up or getting overruled by needing to know your long term. Just create those short term plans and work towards it.
And I think one of the other things sometimes first home buyers need to get out of their head is like, this is going to be my forever home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm not saying that it's not important to, you know, build necessarily what you want, but sometimes I think particularly with that first one, there's a chance that either, you know, there's probably a very good chance you're either going to resell that or is it going to turn into an investment property. So I think, and maybe you'll be able to talk to this a bit more, but, you know, there's always a good idea to also have a bit more of a scope around, you know, whether it's cost or whether it's what's going to work best in the future to yield a better result, right?
Exactly right. And you hit the nail on the head there. All of my first homeowner clients or first home buyer clients, in our first meeting, my comment to them is always going to be, you will feel like I'm treating you like I treat our investors.
Yep.
The reason I say that is 9 times out of 10, this isn't going to be your forever home, as you just said.
Yep.
And 9 out of 10 clients, we're likely to turn your first home into an investment property.
Yeah.
So for me, we look at it, we tick your boxes from what you need as a first time buyer, but I and our team, we also do due diligence on that property as if we were buying it for one of our investors.
Yeah.
So in a year's time, when we turn your first home into an investment property, we already know that it's going to work from the cash flow and numbers wise as an investment property.
Yeah.
We know that we're not overcapitalizing in that area if we're then going to turn it into an investment property.
Yeah.
If we're buying a first home and we're doing land and a build, I still want to look at it and go, okay, even though you're going to live in it as your first home, in 12 months' time, once you've moved into a completed home, is it worth more than what we paid for it? So all of those due diligence and things that we do with our investors, I do that with our first home buyers, because in the end of the day, regardless if you're buying an investment property or you're buying a home to live in, for me, I want every one of my clients to make money out of property because it's an investment in their long-term future, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to buy a home and lose money on it just because we lived in it.
Absolutely. I think one of the other things that you mentioned there as well, so like for anyone that is going to buy a home, move in, live in it for 6 months or 12 months or whatever it might be that they stay in the property, you know, I see a lot of conjecture online in particular about using an offset versus using a redraw. Just chuck all your money into redraw. But for anyone listening out there that is thinking of, and I'm not giving any tax advice here, but for anyone out there that's listening that is maybe going to go through that process where they go, you know what, I'm going to buy it, but I'm going to live in it for 6 months, 12 months, whatever it might be. I'm going to take all the grants that I can get. What you would want to be doing is you do actually want to have access to an offset account. And the reason that you're going to want that is if you go and chuck all your money into a redraw facility, so you're actually paying the debt down, it is harder or virtually impossible by the ATO standard to then take that money back out and for the whole thing to be tax deductible. So, and I know you'd be well and truly across this, but that's the importance of you know, having an offset facility is something that you can chuck your money into, you can save interest on it, but when you go and utilize those funds, they're still your funds and they were never actually technically paid off the loan. So therefore, that loan is still fully tax deductible. So I think it just comes back to, making sure you got that right team about you that can educate you on every part of the process, right? It's not just a matter of like, cool, here's your loan, away you go, there's your property, happy days. Then they come back in a couple of years' time. Hey, Cole, or Ryan, I've paid 200 grand off my loan. I want to turn it into an investment property. And all of a sudden, you've paid that off. You can't write as much off whenever it comes to the income that you've got earning, and you're getting taxed through the ring, right? So
exactly right. And obviously with the right team, you can undo any wrong mistakes long term. But what we'd rather do is forward think and make the right decisions from day one.
Absolutely.
And that's why, regardless if you're an investor or owner occupier, first time buyer, working with that team from the start allows you to make the right steps. And obviously it's about saving you as much money as possible on debt that's in a home that you're living in, non-tax deductible debt, as you touched on.
Yep.
But it's also about what can we do to make it as easy as possible to start the process to invest or grow your wealth. Same thing, even investors that might have 2, 3, 4 properties, they still want their setup to make things as easy as possible for them. The easier it is to then go from let's access equity, let's access money that's sitting in your offset account as an example. The easier the process is to access that and use it for a new purchase, the quicker you can put a plan together and get that next property, which is the next asset, which is growing your wealth further. So, making the steps from day one to obviously be maximizing your current situation, but setting yourself up for ease to move into the next step.
The probably only a couple more questions, mate, but one I just want to hone in on kind of one more time is that building process, because I see so much value in that from a consumer perspective in terms of going through that process where you've got someone that's going to kind of take care of everything. So I know obviously for you, it's you go and see him, you find the right property, you've gone through the plan, all that kind of stuff. Can you just take us through like how much Kamvino handles that build process in terms of like whether it's, you find the builder, you go through the contract, you're going at, stage claims. Like, can you just take us through what that looks like on your end for anyone that's, interested in building that's listening?
Yeah, definitely. So the start of the process, instead of people going out and doing it on their own, one of our meetings is around, let's get everything out of your head. So what are your wants? What are your needs? What are you looking for? What's our budget? What type of land size? All of that type of thing. And obviously part of that is piecing it together and going, okay, yeah, we think it's achievable in the areas that you're talking about. And then I go out and our team, we piece that together and go, okay, blocks, whether it's a house and land opportunity that we're securing together, we go out to market, we're talking to agents, builders, developers, and finding what works. Obviously, if there's unique requirements, we're going to builders that can build custom builds and things like that. That's a big part of our job. It's not just finding a land opportunity, but it's taking our clients to the right type of builders. So there's different builders that are great with custom homes and high-end homes, but they might not do a more standard first time buyer home, or vice versa. So it's about knowing the right builders and companies to take the clients to in the first stage. Then once we secure properties, it's obviously things like if clients might say, hey, I want to make this upgrade or I want to change this. Part of our role there is to go, okay, well, I see value in doing that, or no, we don't think there's value in that. You might be overcapitalizing. Or if you're a first time buyer and you go, oh, I want to change the floor plan, I might be there and go, well, hang on a minute. It might be good for you for a year, but that may not suit investors down the track. So is it the best move to do? So all of that design process, things like that, we manage that and guide the clients through. Where their representation through the process of contracts, making sure obviously finance approvals, deposits are paid, all of that type of stuff. Then through the build process, I get out to the properties every 2 weeks, send like informal updates to our clients. It might be videos, photos. Hey, this is what's happening. And then obviously builders are providing all of the formal stuff, formal updates and check-ins. Things like stage claim invoices. Most of my clients are pretty busy at work, so it's a simple text message. Hey guys, we got a invoice claim.
Yep.
I've now got a system now where we use like a DocuSign, PandaDoc system that works with our brokers, as you know.
Yep.
So it makes it easy. Flick that out. We can get it straight across to the broker. Obviously, then I talk to all the brokers that we're working with, make sure when the payments are in, I go back to the builder and make sure that's all received.
Yep.
So clients know it's happening, but essentially they're just focusing on their day-to-day.
Yep.
Right the way through to once we're getting through to close to completion of, say, builds. I've got links with third-party building inspectors. So gone are the days where you're doing the inspection as the buyer and looking for defects in the house.
You don't know what to look for, really, do you?
Exactly right. Even myself, like I do it day in and day out. I'm still not a professional inspector, right? So
and they've got different equipment and that sort of stuff to check certain things as well.
Yeah,
don't they,
correct,
really?
correct.
Yeah.
So with every one of our clients, we engage a third-party building inspector that does a 2-part inspection at practical completion and pre-handover. So I go out to site with the building inspectors. I manage all of that for the clients. Even through to like handover days, some clients might be away or interstate.
Yeah.
Some of our clients never see a property, never go to handover. I go and do all that with our team. For investors, we then have links with property management companies in all different areas, and we get all that happening as well. So essentially, to nut it all out, you can buy, build, do a development project, your first home, know it's all happening, but our team manages the entire process. And if there's something that our clients need to do, it'll be a text or a call to say, hey guys, we need to do this today, or this is happening.
Yep.
Other than that, they're just cruising along and getting the cool updates and know it's happening, but they don't have to stress about it day to day.
Yeah, that's unreal. I mean, like I said, it's pretty unique. I feel like there's not a lot of people out there that are doing that kind of thing. It's like a buyer's agent, but for pretty much everything, right? For new development stuff, new build. And I think that's probably hard to come by where you're not necessarily dealing directly with a developer, right?
Exactly right. And it's about like I've got 10 years of industry connections and networks that we utilize. It's not just walking into a retail builder. And that's the other big thing with the retail versus wholesale. And a lot of people don't understand. All the builders I work with are classed as like your wholesale builder. So what that means is they don't operate big display home sales teams.
Yeah.
Instead, they're working with companies like ourselves. And when we go to them, we're not dealing with sales teams. We're dealing directly with like the builders, the end guys, and we're dealing with fixed price contracts that are set. Their risk, I guess everything's got a risk in life, right?
Yep.
But as limiting risk as possible, no hidden costs.
Yep.
Everything's done, and we're making sure, and I'm there to make sure there's nothing that is untoward for our clients. We're representing the buyer through that entire process.
And like, I'm just thinking more and more about like the value of what Kamvino Property, offers. And actually, one thing you said a little bit earlier that we were talking about was based upon, even when someone comes to you and goes, all right, I want to spend whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. I know just from experience in talking to you, like how quickly you could, and it's like anytime you talk to a good buyer's agent, like if we, both of us have utilized Matt in the past, like
Correct.
How good is it to be able to go to someone and go, hey, Matt, this is how much I want to spend. These are the areas that I'm looking at. And he goes, yeah, that's doable. Yep. So I think, have someone to build on that side of it where they can go to you and go, hey, Ryan, I want to spend $800,000, these kind of areas, or where would you recommend? Least they can go, least they'd be able to get confidence in you going, yeah, we can make that happen, mm-hmm. because you've gone through the process and you know what construction costs looks like. I think sometimes with construction, the age-old thing is, well, geez, you got, this is going to blow out. You better set aside 20% on top of the build contract to make sure it's going to get done, right? So,
exactly right, and that's how a lot of our clients, we get opportunities ahead of other buyers, both owner occupiers and investment clients, because I can have myself and teams of people look and have a idea of what something's going to cost on a block within a matter of a day or two.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not. That's always estimates and things like
course.
that. Or we can be really upfront with clients. I find a lot of people. For me, it's like, hey, I'm going to be honest with you from day one. If we sit down in the initial meeting and they tell me this is their idea, but capacity and idea doesn't align, we can quickly align and go, hey, well, I don't think that's possible in the areas or whatever, but this is what is possible. And making sure they're aligned on what they can do and we're not spending time on what they can't do, and guiding them really quickly into, okay, hey, let's kind of piece together what we think we can do and be looking at opportunities that actually match.
Yeah, perfect. How many builders would you say you guys are dealing with, roughly, like ballpark?
It can be very different because, again, like any buyer's agent, we don't have any ties to any one builder, any one developer, any one agent, any one area. Essentially,
hundreds.
We secure all different types of properties all over Australia. Obviously, a lot of what I do is Southeast Queensland based, being that's where we've worked and lived our whole career.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be multiples, just depending on what we're trying to do.
And that's good. That's once again, that's a real big benefit, is the fact that you've got all these builders that you've, communicated with in the past that you can float costs by or ideas by to see what you can get done for someone. So
yeah, and it's also having an understanding of who you're working with. So for every client of ours, I have to have a pretty clear understanding of a builder or developer that we're going to put a client with. So understanding their financial position, how do they operate their business, what are their quality, what results have they done, do I have an existing relationship with them? Yeah. So having not only doing due diligence on the properties, but doing due diligence on the partners and the builders and developers that we're working with. That's a big part of what we do. If we're not comfortable, and for me, it's if I'm not comfortable, if I wouldn't buy or work with these people personally, I'm never going to put one of our clients with them.
Love it. All right, last one, mate. Kamvino Property. What do you kind of see yourself in the next few years? Are you looking to kind of grow the team, or are you kind of happy with where it is at the moment, or?
Yeah, interesting question. I've never really been someone that said, "Hey, I want to grow a team that's this size or whatever it looks like." Ideally, it would be expanding the team in some capacity. Yeah. But for me, it's about I've always just thought about being there to help everyday Australians realize what they can do with property and being able to service as many clients as possible, but keep our level of personalization and customization to our clients. So that's a big thing for me, that it's client first, potentially a growth of the team, but I always want to have that boutique feel that we're very personal, we're almost creating friendship relationships with our clients. And for me, I always want to be someone that's hands-on. Yeah. I never want to be a business where for me at the moment, I want to be involved with as many client journeys as possible. That gets harder and harder as you grow. Yeah. But that's kind of a vision that I want to always at least have an understanding of what's happening.
Yeah. Not taking your finger off the pulse.
Growth, but boutique team at the same time.
Gotcha. Love it. All right, mate. Well, honestly, thank you so much for coming on. I reckon there's going to be a heap of value in that for anyone that's looking to build, whether it's investment or owner occupied. So, mate, thanks so much for your time.
No, I appreciate you having me on.
All right. Love it. Thanks, mate.